Hello, everyone. Stocks reacted quite well following Monday's sell off. It wasn't anything amazing, but I got to tell you what, not only did we rally and not continue to sell off or add to the selling losses that we suffered on Monday, but volume was also above average and almost higher than the level before on the NASDAQ. And then on the New York Stock Exchange, it was much higher than the day before. However, this is problematic because it's not as bullish as it looks because we are closing lower than where we open. So it's not as bullish as it appears. And the S&P 500, despite us closing higher than where we open, big intraday reversal off the highs. So that big volume actually looks pretty negative. Same with the Dow Jones Industrial Average, the Dow Jones Transportation Average, and the Russell 2000 is the complete opposite, not off its highs, similar to the NASDAQ. So overall, it's kind of a mixed market here. We got the Russell 2000 putting in a pretty good intraday session. We got the NASDAQ putting in a pretty good intraday session, and the NASDAQ 100 putting in a pretty good intraday session. But the S&P 500, New York Stock Exchange, and Dow Jones Industrial Average all looking weak, like they're going to continue to sell off. So it's a very mixed market right now. Our NASDAQ and Russell 2000 is under a neutral signal. The S&P 500 is barely under a neutral signal, and the rest of the indexes remain under a sell signal. So with this mixed market, you got to be careful out there. But today, it was very impressive to see the biotechs and what they did today. The XBI, and is it the BIB? No, that's the Ultra one. IBB. Very solid moves off their moving averages. And then I think his SBIO is a new one I just started to see. The Medical Breakthroughs ETF that showed up for the first time today in my ETF scan. But pretty impressive moves today. And I mean, look at some of our positions. RCPT, RDUS. What was another one? My brain is drawing a blank. I wish I would have wrote these down. Now I feel really stupid, but oh well. The point is, the biotech stocks look good, and a lot of our good holdings are doing really well. I mean, let's go to the perfect speculator scam. This is where we can really see it. We go over here. We look at some of these names. I mean, look at ALDR. Beautiful. RDUS, RCPT, REGRX, our AGO, PRTA, IMPV, our Blue, our CLVS, BIB, LGND, TSRO, Rare. I mean, ZSPH, BMRN, our CBPO, LCI, even GWPH, and AMAG, other medical stocks, ADPT. So there's a lot of nice stocks out there. ANAC, ANIP. So, you know, it's kind of hard to get too bearish on this market whenever we see immediate moves like this, especially in our biotech and medical related stocks. And that then brings us to tonight. I know technically, you know, if you go to StockTwitch, you'll see long positions are on hold, but that's for everybody else. And when our little internal group here at Big Wave Trading, if we find stocks that we want to go long, I don't give a shit what the direction of the market is, because if the industry group is bucking the trend, that means it's a strong industry group, and it's very possible it's going to rally against the market. So with that being said, it should be no surprise that we actually have long positions tonight. None of them super high quality. Nothing definitely to write home about, nothing to get too excited about, but pretty interesting. CTRV, I'm not sure if this has shown up before. It very well has probably shown up a few times, like here. I mean, I'm sure if I go through my scans, I can see it shows up here. But this is definitely the first time I've actually been interested in getting long the stock. So it's nothing big, but BOP surged from a yellow level to a max screen BOP level on a huge surge in volume. And price is breaking out of a very tight saucer with handle pattern. This is the saucer. This is the handle. The handle overall quiet volume, except for the 2 days that it's up, two very bullish intraday sessions, and then yesterday not selling off at all, and today the breakout. So CRTV, 1% account capital. It's a little bit riskier than the other longs, but like, you know, I'm willing to go ahead and push it on this one because the other long signals we don't risk much if we're wrong. So 1% of the account capital into CTRV. Then also, CTRV, by the way, showed up in my new 52-week highs on at least average volume scan and my price volume BOP scan. It's a totally speculative stock, so it showed up nowhere else. CHRS is a recent IPO. It caught my eye with this huge volume surge with max green bop surge on a pocket pivot point signal. Held up very well in the face, of Monday selling. And then today, we're now breaking out above those big highs that were set on that huge intraday day. So 28.99 was the highs. 28.90 is where we're at intraday. It broke above it at 29.11. So I'm good with that overall. To me, it's a breakout. 28.90 is above 28.61. It's above 28.65. We've got a good breakout. And intraday, we broke out above the intraday highs at 28.75. So CHRS is good. We've got Max Stream Bop for 3 days. In 2 more days, nothing crazy happens, it'll have Max Stream Bop for 5 days. And that, to me, is the confirmation from the IPO scan, along with the pocket pivot point signal and just the overall solid stock in the IPO scans, because not too many IPOs are going to look like this. So CHRS is also a 1% position. You can cut your losses with a move below either 27.45, or if you want to get really brave, 26.15. Or the smart thing to do would be to split it up in half at 27.45, half at 26.15, and then so that way you can give it some intraday wiggle room. But if it closes on the end of day basis below 27.45, then you can look to be selling the whole position with a move below whatever intraday level the low a day is, if we do close below that low back here of 27.45. So CHRS 1%. We don't risk much. We're wrong on that one. That kind of makes up for the CTRV, which is a little bit more speculative. In CTRV, you can have your first sell stop 448 and your final one 437. So 448, 437 for CTRV. We also have an add in ATRC. ATRC, just like CHRS, some big sales growth, but the earnings aren't there. ATRC was only in the price volume BOP scan, but this is an overall beautiful chart pattern. And once again, it held up extremely well in the face of yesterday's selling, like nothing happened to it. And we got a pocket pivot point signal on above average volume with BOP surging above all the other previous green BOP highs. So it's breaking out to a new BOP high short term, following the breakout in June. So this looks like an excellent support buy. Once again, if we're wrong, we don't risk much. 1% of the account capital into ATRC. If it works, great. If it doesn't, we don't risk much at all. The only high quality long signal that we have is actually an ad signal in HCKT, and it's speculative and it's risky. That's why it's only 1% of the account capital. But once again, to know that we're wrong, a move below 1280, and we know that we're wrong on the ad signal. So to me, it's worth it. So HCKT is the highest quality long signal overall when it comes to fundamentally strong stock. HCKT is the only CanSlim quality stock. So 1% add on this one based on the huge surge in volume today with BOP staying max green. And yesterday, once again, it's like we didn't even see a market sell-off in this stock. So very, very beautiful. And overall, like I said, once again, when I see chart patterns like that, and there's others I'm passing on, like ATRI looks coiled for a breakout. Another medical stock you can consider going long this thin stock. And then there's ICUE. This thing looks coiled as can be, and it's high price. I tell you what, if it had green BOP the entire time, I would already be setting my buy stops above this level right here around 97.74. So 97.75 would like be my buy stop on this one. But ICUI, beautiful. It's definitely coiling. D-Hill, beautiful, definitely coiling, very thin, but you know it's happening. So there's some good looking stocks out there. And Rare, as I showed earlier, if that can move sideways a few days and keep the BOP up at these levels and give me some kind of signal, I'll get long this stock. Now, on an end of day basis, SKX is closing below its 20-day moving average on very heavy volume. First time it's done that in a very long time since that gap up. Now what you want to do is use the low a day, 106.03, to get rid of half of whatever you have, and then we'll wait to see what the rest of SKX does. So 50% of SKX. IVC is also a 50% sell with the confirmation close below the 20-day moving average break here. So when it moved here, technically we could have sold it off. I didn't. Instead, I moved my sell stop below 22.03. It moved below that. What I didn't realize is that I should have half of the sell stop here and half here, but evidently I moved it all to here, so I'm totally out of IVC. And then MCGC is a full failure. I never got long this stock as it gapped up past the level that I wanted to buy. But if you still got long here, it's obviously gone nowhere. Close below the 50-day moving average and above average volume. It is to be eliminated.